Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexi Hall for A'ja Wilson's illegal screen. Then A'ja Wilson and Alyssa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call.
The steal was so blatant, so audacious, it didn't even feel like sports anymore. Game 3 of this playoff series wasn't decided by a clutch shot or a defensive stand. It was decided by a sequence of whistles that ripped a rightful victory straight from the Indiana Fever's hands. They were fighting, they were leading, and then out of nowhere, the entire momentum of the game was hijacked. This is the story of a daylight robbery on the court, a performance of pure grit that was tragically overshadowed, and the one last chance for a team to prove they can overcome more than just their opponents. If you believe in fair play, you need to see this. And if you're with the Fever, let me know in the comments right now.
From 3, Hole comes soaring in again. Just uncanny knack. And cashes in.
Is on the upper left wing. Just got inside, circles around, pure.
The entire turning point of that game can be pinpointed to a single, infuriating sequence in the third quarter. The Fever had built a hard-earned lead. The Gainbridge Fieldhouse crowd was electric, and then Aaliyah Boston was hit with her second foul on a play against A'ja Wilson that was, at best, questionable. The replay showed minimal contact, the kind of physicality that had been allowed all game. Coach Stephanie White immediately signaled for a challenge. The bench was buzzing, but the officials refused to even look her way. They wouldn't grant the review, and in the very same possession, seconds later, Chelsea Gray buried a three-pointer. Just like that, a potential stop in possession for Indiana vanished, and instead, Vegas was handed points. The crowd's roar turned to gasps of disbelief, but that was just the beginning. Social media exploded with clips meticulously breaking down the one-sided nature of the calls. A'ja Wilson setting an illegal screen with an extended leg, but the foul being called on Lexi Hull. Alyssa Smith appearing to make no contact on a drive, yet going to the line. The evidence piled up in real time, painting a picture not of a better team winning, but of one team being systematically helped back into the game. But was this a one-time officiating mistake? Or was it the culmination of a pattern that had been building since the very first game of the series?
How don't you think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm. It's about timing. It's about spacing. We allowed them to do that.
From the opening tip-off of this playoff battle, the whistles have leaned harder towards Las Vegas than a crutch. In Game 1, when the Aces needed claw back, they didn't do it with breathtaking plays alone. They did it by living at the free throw line. Indiana's aggressive, physical defense was being penalized as if it were a different sport. They would stand tall, body up, and yet possession after possession seemed to end with Vegas shooting free throws. It was a strategic nightmare for Indiana. Every time they built a small cushion, a whistle would blow, stopping the clock and handing the Aces easy, uncontested points. This wasn't just about foul counts. It was about timing. The calls consistently came when the Fever were building momentum, effectively preventing them from going on any significant runs. This set a dangerous precedent, signaling to the Aces that they could play aggressively without the same fear of consequence.
A'ja Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul called.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Gray in the corner.
By Game 2, the pattern was too loud to ignore. The fouls piled up on Indiana in a steady, suffocating stream. completely disrupting any rhythm they tried to establish. Key players like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell found themselves in early foul trouble, forcing them to play with a caution that is antithetical to playoff basketball. After that game, Coach Stephanie White didn't hold back, stating plainly that it's impossible to find an offensive flow when the whistle blows every 10 seconds. She pointed out that the constant stoppages and free throws for the Aces prevented the Fever from getting into their up-tempo game, their primary identity. The frustration was no longer simmering, it was boiling over, and it was all caught on camera. This established a clear narrative of two teams being held to different standards, a narrative that would reach its devastating climax in Game 3.
2-minute recap from last night. So A'ja Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Nalissa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then A'ja Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Nalissa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
And in the midst of this officiating chaos, a true warrior emerged for Indiana, and her story was almost buried by the controversy. Lexi Ho. She was listed as questionable before the game, having aggravated a back injury in the series opener. During warm-ups, her movements looked stiff and guarded, a telltale sign of an athlete battling through significant pain. Fans expected, at best, a few limited minutes where she could provide a brief spark off the bench. What they got was one of the most gutsy, career-defining performances in recent playoff memory. Hull didn't just play, she dominated stretches of the game, refusing to let her physical limitations dictate her impact. She played through visible, agonizing pain.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Cole will fire. And hit from three. Last two positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up.
The camera constantly caught her face wincing after tough plays, grabbing at her lower back during free throws, and moving gingerly during stoppages. Yet, when the ball was live, she transformed. She somehow put up a stat line that would be impressive for a fully healthy star. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. She shot an incredible 6 of 10 from the field, including 3 crucial three-pointers that acted as lifelines every single time Vegas tried to pull ahead. Each triple felt like a direct defiance of the odds stacked against her team.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull, catch, fire, and hit. Correct call. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexi Hull.
The Hull able to save the play.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first field.
She dove on the floor for loose balls with no regard for her own well-being. She boxed out taller and stronger players with sheer tenacity, and she chased down rebounds she had no right to get. Every time the officials tried to deflate the Fever, Lexi Ho gave them a burst of life. She tied a franchise playoff record for threes in the series, and she set a new playoff career high, all while playing injured. That kind of effort, that sheer force of will, deserved to be the headline, a story of triumph over adversity, but was tragically stolen, relegated to a footnote by the circus of bad calls that followed.
Back to Hull, wide open three is good.
The floor that she wants, doesn't it?
It does. Mitchell, connect. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell, one more. You bet.
Her performance was a silver lining that the league itself seemed determined to ignore. Meanwhile, the face of the league, the MVP candidate, was having a night she'd rather forget. Imagine being A'ja Wilson and going nearly 3 full quarters without a single field goal. She started the game with a three-pointer, hinting at a dominant night, and then nothing. The shots just stopped falling. It was a stunning collapse for a player of her stature. By the end of the night, she was a dismal 6 for 20 from the field, finishing with 13 points on 20 attempts. For a player of her caliber, that isn't just a subpar game, it's a terrible one.
She gets a foul call with a 3-point game for, I don't know why they called that foul, but it's the third quarter and they want them to win. So here we go. Ace is up by 3. They call another foul for Asia Wilson that isn't a foul. All right, so then they call another foul on the Fever that isn't a foul. And then to end the game after it's out of control, because the Fever had a 6-point lead, but they kept calling fouls, another foul for Asia Wilson that's not a foul. Ball don't lie, Asia. You missed 11 shots in a row during this game.
The efficiency was completely absent. Instead of establishing her presence in the paint, where she is virtually unstoppable, she drifted to perimeter, settling for contested fadeaways and long jumpers, looking visibly frustrated with each miss. And the reason for that struggle had a name: Aaliyah Boston. Boston was absolutely hounding Wilson on every single possession. From the moment she touched the ball to her follow-through, she denied her easy post position, used her strength to disrupt Wilson's rhythm, and force her into those awkward, inefficient shots she never wanted to take.
Here's Hull working behind Boston. Boston was open. Great fake, and Boston lays it in.
This was elite one-on-one defense that completely neutralized the most dangerous player on the court. Yet, this narrative of a young star outdueling the established MVP was largely ignored in the broader conversation. Instead, Wilson managed to impact the game through physical play that often went unpunished, blatant elbows on box-outs, subtle undercuts, and extended arms that rarely drew a whistle. The Aces star was being systematically shut down by a brilliant defensive scheme, but her team was being propped up by a different kind of assistance, one that didn't show up in the defensive highlight reels but was evident on the free throw tally and in the momentum-killing whistles.
About practically a football check, and the Aces score. So now the Aces cut it to 2, and then Asia Wilson sets an illegal screen, and they tied things up. And then Lexi Hall gets called for a foul for doing nothing when they just had 2 illegal screens they didn't call. All right, so this is fair. Same thing happens on the other side, but they don't call a foul for Kelsey Mitchell. So Leah Boston gets called for this foul for getting her arm grabbed, but Stephanie White can't challenge. They won't let her. That's the second time this game they didn't let her have her challenge. And then Asia Wilson starts acting like a big baby.
This is what makes the Vegas victory feel so hollow. They didn't win because their best player was the best player on the floor. They were saved by the officiating and by her teammates stepping up at critical moments. Jackie Young carried the offensive load with 25 points, hitting tough, contested shots when the team needed them most. Chelsea Gray added a steady 15, controlling the pace and providing veteran leadership. Their depth showed up when it mattered, masking the fact that their primary weapon had been effectively taken out of the game. But the most infuriating part came after the game. Aces coach Becky Hammond had the audacity to complain that Aya Wilson didn't get enough foul calls, pointing out that she only shot 1 free throw. The irony is almost laughable. This is the same Vegas team that has enjoyed a massive free throw advantage throughout the entire series, a disparity that has been a central point of contention and analysis.
Got hit a lot tonight. To shoot 1 free throw in 38 minutes. I know they told me not to say anything, but I can't.
When you've been the beneficiary of lopsided officiating for 3 straight games, cry about one night where your star didn't get the calls she wanted rings completely hollow. It feels like the ultimate privilege, a protected escape, rather than a hard-earned statement win. The media narrative that followed often padded Wilson's poor shooting with talk of her all-around impact on rebounds and defense, completely glossing over the fact that she was effectively bottled up by a relentless and intelligent defensive effort from Aaliyah Boston. Indiana did everything right to stop the MVP. They executed a near-perfect game plan against her, and it felt like the system, the very framework of the game, was manipulated to compensate for it, cheapening the outcome and leaving a stain on the competition.
Sims, hoist, short. Look at Hall coming screaming in for the rebound. Boston trying to body Wilson, and does. Sims back to Boston, going back to work and dropping it in a great.
So now, everything leads to a final, desperate stand at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. For the Indiana Fever, Game 4 isn't just another playoff game. It's about absolute survival. One more loss, and their season is over. Their hard-fought progress cut short under a cloud of controversy. But they have a weapon that Vegas has openly admitted to struggling against: their home crowd. 17,000 passionate, furious fans are expected to pack that building, and they're going to make every possession for Las Vegas a living nightmare. This isn't just noise. It's a roaring, unified wall of energy that can fuel a team and intimidate an opponent into unforced errors.
Here's Boston, back to Hull. Sets herself up. Mitchell is free, laying it in. Been a while since Mitchell has gotten a shot attempt. Mitchell will get one here. It's hit.
The decibel level when an opponent is at the free throw line, the collective groan on a bad call, the explosion after a fever basket, it all compounds into a tangible force. Becky Hammond has already started the mind games, preemptively complaining about the physicality and hinting, with knowing tone, that the officiating might now swing toward the home team. The irony is staggering. After 3 games where the whistle consistently favored her squad, the champion coach is suddenly worried about a level playing field. It tells you everything you need to know about the pressure Vegas feels walking into that arena. They are comfortable being the favorites when the environment is controlled, but they are deeply uncomfortable when the world isn't tilted in their direction.
On this first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson.
They have yet to prove they can win a truly fair fight in a hostile environment during these playoffs. And that doubt is the Fever's greatest weapon heading into this elimination game. The Fever's path to forcing a Game 5 is no secret, but executing it under this pressure, with their season on the line, is the real challenge. This isn't just about wanting it more. It's about a surgical, disciplined execution of a game plan designed to exploit every single crack in the Aces' armor. They must come out and push the tempo from the very first second, turning the game into a track meet before Vegas's defense can get set. This means aggressive, in-your-face defense that creates live ball turnovers, leading to easy transition buckets. It means Aaliyah Boston or Alyssa Smith grabbing a defensive rebound and immediately firing an outlet pass to a guard already sprinting up the floor. They cannot afford to let Vegas settle into their half-court sets, where their physicality and the looming threat of a whistle can dictate the pace. Every second the shot clock is ticking down in a half-court slog is a victory for the Aces. Indiana's energy must be a tsunami from the opening tip, overwhelming Vegas with a speed they aren't prepared to match. Central to this offensive onslaught is a ruthless and unwavering commitment, defeating Aaliyah Boston on the block. This isn't just about getting her points. It's a strategic masterstroke with multiple layers. First, it directly attacks Aya Wilson, forcing the MVP to work tirelessly on the defensive end, expending energy she would rather save for her own offense. Every post-up, every box out, every battle for position is a drain. Second, and more crucially, it puts Wilson in perpetual foul trouble danger. Without the safety net of convenient one-sided whistles, Wilson will have to defend with pristine technique. Boston's strength and footwork can force Wilson into reaching, leaning, or jumping recklessly. Drawing that second or third foul on Wilson in the first half will be a catastrophic blow for Vegas, potentially forcing her to bench and completely altering their defensive identity. Boston's success inside is the key that unlocks everything else of Fever. But an inside game alone isn't enough to topple a champion. This is where Kelsey Mitchell's moment arrives. The Fever desperately need their all-star guard to find a rhythm and explode for one of her signature, electrifying scoring barges. Her offense isn't a luxury. It's the engine that transforms a team from plucky underdog to legitimate threat. When Mitchell is attacking the rim, hitting pull-up jumpers, and stretching the defense with her deep range, she forces Vegas to make impossible choices. They can no longer double-team Boston in the post without leaving Mitchell exposed. They can't clog the driving lanes without fearing her outside shot. Her ability to create her own shot, especially in late clock situations when the play breaks down, is the key to building a sustainable lead, not just trading baskets. She is the counterpunch that makes the inside game viable, and for Indiana to survive, she must be spectacular. And weaving this entire tapestry together must be the continued, pain-defying grit of Lexi Hull. She needs to once again be the unwavering heartbeat of the team. If she can channel that same warrior spirit, she does more than just add points to the scoreboard. She becomes the soul of the roster. Her relentless hustle is contagious. When teammates see her, back aching, diving for a loose ball or fighting for an offensive rebound against taller opponents. It elevates everyone's effort. Her defensive versatility is also a nightmare for Vegas. She can switch onto multiple positions, disrupt passing lanes, and her three-point shooting forces her defender to stay close, creating precious space for Boston and Mitchell to operate. Hull is the X factor, the player whose stat line may not always show her full impact, but whose presence on the court makes every other player better. The blueprint for an upset is there because Vegas has shown they can crack. The evidence is on the tape. Aya Wilson's confidence is visibly thin, her body language turning frustrated when shots don't fall and the physicality intensifies. Jackie Young, while brilliant, is being asked to carry a historically heavy load. Eventually, that weight can become too much to bear, and the Aces' role players, those crucial supporting cast members, haven't yet faced a true playoff inferno like the one awaiting them in Indianapolis. The pressure of a closeout game on the road, in front of a rabid, hostile crowd that believes its team was wronged, is a unique and suffocating kind of pressure. It leads to rushed shots, uncharacteristic turnovers, and defensive miscommunications. If Indiana attacks these psychological and strategic weak points with precision and relentless energy from the opening tip to the final buzzer, this entire series can shift on its axis. They have the plan. Now, they need the execution to summon one more night, to turn righteous anger into legendary victory. Let's be unequivocally clear. The Indiana Fever did not lose Game 3. They had it stolen from them. They built a legitimate lead through strong defense and heart. They watched the player Lexi put her body on the line in a performance for the ages, and they saw it all systematically erased by a barrage of whistles that gifted the game to the Las Vegas Aces. This final game is bigger than just extending a season. It's about exposing how hollow those Aces wins look when the playing field is level. It's about vindication for Aaliyah Boston's defensive mastery. It's about honoring Lexi Hull's warrior spirit. If the Fever can channel the fury of their fans and execute their game plan, Gamebridge Fieldhouse won't just be loud. It will be the epicenter of a stunning turnaround that changes the narrative of this entire series. This team's story isn't finished. It's just getting to the most dramatic part. So, do you think the Fever can overcome the odds and force a decisive Game 5? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see what happens next in this incredible playoff drama, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment.